professional
I mean,
podcast.
it's almost been 7 days since you accidentally muted yourself, but
Days without. I need a days without incident. I really need to get the green screen set up with Skype so I can have it on the thing and just put days without incident right behind me, like an office or a fireplace. Or it doesn't exist this way. I'm kind of upset still that our emotes are still impending. And you know what I think it is too, because ours are very unique and they look like they could be copywritten. But that's what you get when you have a artist friend who's willing to do stuff cool for you.
Those are just Discord emotes?
They're actually I can't add them to Discord oddly enough. No, we got affiliated with Twitch, and Twitch allowed and Twitch allowed affiliates not only to have a sub button, which was fantastic, but also they gave us the option to have emotes. So I took some inside jokes that we made on the show through the last year of doing this, and I had a friend. I just gave him the concepts of the jokes, and I was like, like these three things are like kind of like our key like running gags that have been going on since episodes past. And he was like, "That sounds hilarious. I will be glad to do them for you." And he did, and they turned out fantastic. The problem is that we. I want to show them. I want to share them with people. I almost want to share them now so I can get people to like yell at Twitch and be like, "Let these loose so we can buy them, like pay these guys to use." Because our $24.99 one is just choice. I can't say it because we're live right now. Somebody will hear it. I'll tell you after the show. They are pretty great. If you're like the last one, the $24.99 one, if you're a Final Fantasy fan and our fan, you'll probably love it.
Nice.
I'm debating if I should read this.
What?
There's an article that Brad sent about Threadripper. The only comment I have on it is, no, I'm not going to read that live.
Don't do it. You'll end it all. So yeah, I was when I was like, I told Shin, I was like, hey, I asked this guy to be on the show. I was like, he may not play Final Fantasy 14, but I don't care. We're gonna get him on the show anyway.
Yeah, I played. I was over at somebody's house and they left Final Fantasy 14 open on their computer, and I started playing it for like an hour. That's my experience. Yeah,
good enough.
I think that was the first version too.
Oh, 1.0? That was a bad version. Yeah. Get an hour out
of my only MMO experience besides that is Guild Wars 2.
Okay. That's not a bad one if you enjoy PvP.
Yeah, I just MMOs weren't for me. I think I found out after playing that, but it was my first like trial because I figured, well, this one isn't on a subscription or anything weird, so if I do like it, it's a good like one-time buy-in. But it just wasn't my thing.
Final Fantasy 14, I would say, is probably, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, it's probably the best of kind of both worlds, because you get this really sweet storyline, and the story, I mean, the current expansion, the story is fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite Final Fantasy stories in a long time. Out of all, yeah.
Heaven's Word, right?
No, Stormblood, that just came out.
Stormblood, yeah, that's right.
And that really good.
Nice.
So, listen, that may be like a spare question on coming up. Although I think if you listen to the music, like I almost want to link you music. I may do that. I don't know. I don't want to bug you, but I may link you music from the game because I think you'd really like it. Because the composer is phenomenal, like really good.
Are you talking about just the game?
The game music. Yeah, Soken, yeah. He's played live at the last 2 fan fests with his band called The Primals, and they kill it every time.
Yeah, it was great when he went on stage this time and just played with a shoebox. It's important.
His little tiny pink piano that's a kawaii.
Oh yeah, the actual piano brand that is also the word cute.
Yeah.
Perfect. I never thought of it that way, actually.
Vladimir in chat, not Lakshmi. We'll start humming and then I have to look at her bosom. I mean,
it is a really addicting song.
Oh, I thought you were about to say her bosom. Oh, by the way, I guess I should warn you. We're semi like I don't know. Would you call this like slash comedy podcast? It's not like high end comedy. It's more like I make jokes and he facepalm.
I think every podcast should have a little bit of comedy.
Good.
Yeah, but we kind of take it from should have a little bit and then kind of go way down.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Don't listen. Those are.
I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep you reined in.
Me? All right. Oh, fair enough. Miss Vader in chat. I don't know if you should. Maybe you want to see chat.
Robin Williams meets Anchorman.
Robin Williams meets Anchorman?
In chat there, he said it's Robin Williams meets serious newscaster.
Oh. Oh, is that what? Listen, if you're telling me I'm Robin Williams, thank you. That's an honor.
It is 8 almost. I'm still trying to think of a tweet.
You'll think of it, buddy. I believe you. Were you asking for help? Because I got nothing.
No, I got nothing. We should probably make sure that we're ready. Because, for once, we're on time. Everything's sounding great. Yeah. Everything is in position, apparently.
It is. Mello, if you want to look at the Twitch chat and see what people are saying, because sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It's our bot automatically posts the channel right there, and so you can click on the link.
Yeah, let me pop that out.
Okay, I am going to mute you guys and get all the other stuff ready. So let's see if I can do this in one take. Today is Monday, July 24th, 2017. This is episode 46 of Mellostrom Radio.
Mellostrom Radio. With your hosts, Flatus and Shinder.
And welcome everybody to Mellostrom Radio. My name is Flatus. With me, as always, this host is too legit to quit. It's Shin. No?
All right, I'll take that one.
All right. All right. This host, and I'm honored for this one, I'm 100% positive that Martin Shkreli bought the new Wu-Tang album so that this host couldn't remix it with Final Fantasy X. It's too mellow.
Can I cuss on the show?
Oh, you absolutely fucking can.
God damn it, Martin Shkreli. Thank you for making that reference. Now I'm upset going into the podcast.
Oh, no. I ruined it all for everybody. I'm so sorry.
say that pretty much is par for the course for it. So
Oh no. Listen, I'm upset too, and I'm a big Wu-Tang fan, so I grew up listening to. But dude, when you did, I don't like. I know we're gonna go into it, but when you did 3/6 chambers, so good. Anyway,
you need to like speed run through all this.
I know. I'm so excited for the other stuff. All right, let's get through the other. All right, so we got any FC news? Not really. We didn't do much this last week. We didn't.
I didn't really log on, so
yeah. Hi, new people that joined us. We appreciate it, and I mean that's the thing that happened. All right. So for Final Fantasy 14 news, they're changing the price of carbonized matter. Price adjustments. A lot of it's getting a lot cheaper, so it's like anywhere between 5 to 14 gil, something like that. So wait, clan with a K. I'm pretty sure it's
spelling.
I'm pretty sure that's a C.
For the Wu-Tang Clan,
yeah,
but I appreciate.
Yeah. And there's I know Shin. I know my mind went there too. I know. All right, and there's new optional items. So if you missed the spring event last year, with the posing rangers, you can go buy all their poses and the music. The song's really worth it, and the poses are worth it. So if you want to dab on people, yeah, you can dab on people. That's it. That's all I got for news. There's nothing else really. I guess there's one thing. I guess somebody. I can't remember the name of the guild. Something Fire. some FC ran and got world first this past week, and congratulations to them. Listen. You know my opinion. World first in an MMO. I mean, good for them, but
different episode.
So thing, but. You're here because I invited two Mellow, remix artist, game composer. I've been listening to his music a lot. Listen, I've been sending people to your website because I've been streaming your music while I stream this week, this past week and a half.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So just so you know, it's too Mellow. Mellow, could you tell people who you are, what you do?
Yeah. I am a music composer and a sound designer and a remixer. I love video games and hip hop. I work on video games and I sometimes remix them with hip hop. Yeah, that's pretty much it, actually.
I can never be that smooth in a mic. I want to be that smooth in a mic.
I practiced for a long time.
Did you?
We can talk about that. I think that's one of the questions, maybe.
All right. Well, let's dive into some of these questions. I'm sure as we go, like normal with us, sometimes we spawn extra questions that are not necessarily on the list, but I hope you're okay with that. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, of course.
What got you started in from what I when I first started finding you were doing remixes. So what got you started in making remixes?
Well, for the remixes, I really like sampling. I like taking things and recontextualizing them in music. And I had done some video game sampling before, but I had an idea that maybe I could make something different, something using rap acapellas that had kind of like a theme to it. And one of the things that I'm always kind of upset about, or it's getting a lot better, but basically in rap music, you don't have a lot of like real nerdy type people to look up to. So I have two big sides of myself, and one is that I'm really into video games and movies and literature, and the other side of me is really into rap music, and the two don't often get to cross because rap music kind of picked its topics and picked its the things that it wants to express, and not all of that is about being nerdy. So I had the idea that I could flip it and make this album where Jay-Z has like a coming out being a geek thing, and he proves it by rapping over an entire album of Chrono Trigger beats. And I thought maybe that by doing this, I would be able to get some video game fans into hip hop and vice versa.
Nice. Now, all right. So, like, here talking about spawning a question. Now, you mentioned that there wasn't a lot of nerd in the rap scene or the rap music. Now, what when nerdcore rap started becoming a thing? What when you look at something like MC Lars or MC Chris or any of the other Beefy, all the other like nerdcore, like what was your take on that? Were you happy to start seeing that happen?
Sometimes. I like Beefy.
Okay.
I like Mega Ran. I like
Okay.
Samus. I'm very selective in like the nerdcore rap that I enjoy because it's a genre that is built on and kind of like subsists on only like referencing things at a pretty surface level, and every once in a while having personal songs that are impressive, but like a larger trend in like newer nerdcore artists that are spawning from these older ones that maybe have more musical experience and respect for the genres that they're referencing. There are a lot of newer nerdcore artists that don't really want to study hip hop and learn the fundamentals before just kind of jumping in. And with nerdcore, there's almost like a cult of unprofessionalism. It's like something they are proud of.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about like the legs that genre has, but I think there are some really impressive artists doing work in it.
Okay. So my next question, what drove your passion to becoming a game composer?
Well, it's almost just that I love games and music and being able to put the two together and kind of, I idolize and sample and work with all these game soundtracks, but to make my own and to become part of that world and one of my favorite industries, and also to match visuals with music and sound is a big passion of mine. And also, it's a career path. It's a way to make a living as a musician, that is a little easier than like releasing and promoting, marketing your own albums. I can attach my art to this piece of work that has so many arts attached to it, and we can all work together to push it.
Nice. So that you mentioned that piece of art. So what is your favorite like so far? Like what out of all the stuff you've done, what is your favorite piece that you've made?
Actually, it's not released yet, but
Oh, really?
but I talk about it. I can talk
Okay,
about it
cool.
on the video game. Y'all know Towerfall.
I do know Towerfall.
The man behind Towerfall, Matt Thorson, made a
Okay.
team and is making a new game called Celeste. And I did a song for Celeste that is a remix of one of the great songs by the actual composer on the game, whose name is Lena Rain. And she was kind enough to contact me and a bunch of other musicians and get us to submit remixes. And I did something for that I think is going to be really special. But besides that, I think that just generally the work across read-only memories is probably my favorite stuff. It's all these characters have their own themes, and the themes repeat. Um, the music gets really emotional, and it's got just about as many tracks as a '90s RPG. So I really went all out for that one.
Nice. And so we're in Shin doing the best that he can. Move the 2064 question right around. Awesome, dude. Smooth. I just want to let you know. Listen, Shin. This is why I have Shin on the show. keeping shit real.
Yeah.
So all right, perfect. When you were composing 2064 ROM, what was some of your inspirations for the soundtrack?
Well, the biggest and like brightest reference for cyberpunk that I have, besides like William Gibson novels, which isn't really an audio thing, is uh, Blade Runner. So my main thing was just listening to a lot of Vangelis and thinking about those instrument types. But the director of the game told me that he specifically wanted to get the sounds from like Sega Genesis to Sega CD, which is the Yamaha DX7 synthesizer. So I'm like, okay, I can marry these two somehow. And the Genesis sounds are really good for getting kind of like a hip hoppy house musicy feel. So I essentially made like Vangelis rap music for Read Only Memories, very anthemic, melodic Vangelis rap music. Yeah.
I was gonna say, to me, when I was starting to listen to it, I was like, man, he went for that like 80s synth, that early, like late 80s, early 90s, almost like hip hop. Those like some of the tracks, I'm like, man, that's that late 80s, early 90s hip hop beats. It's a great album.
Thank you. And a few other inspirations that came from the director. He sent me a bunch of stuff from Bubblegum Crisis and the soundtrack to Robot Carnival, which is an anime film. And I also was playing a lot of the Phoenix Wright games at the time, and I was playing Persona 3 and 4 around that time. So I got a lot of inspiration from Shoji Meguro's compositions in those games.
Nice. All right. So, speaking still on that soundtrack, what was some of the most difficult things about composing a game soundtrack?
You make something that you think is really good privately, and the team doesn't think it's really good. And on my first soundtrack, this was hard. It's not hard anymore to like separate emotions from the work, but it was a little hard when I just really felt like this thing is hitting. This is like a weird, unique thing that we definitely need to keep in this game. And everyone was like, no, we really don't like it though. Appreciate you were trying something new, but we really don't like it. And but over time, I think that you kind of realize the way that you need to hit the people that are working with you and satisfy what they are looking for in your music, and also satisfy yourself. So the two, I guess, the two warring factions eventually make peace creatively, and we're doing more music and games together now, so that relationship of like knowing what they mean by a certain criticism and knowing how to respond to it has continued. So the most difficult thing was just getting acclimated and like working within a particular style. But once I picked the instruments that I knew everyone would always like, and I figured out how to respond to the criticism, it was actually easier than it would have been if I was just freewheeling to have this defined area to work in.
Okay.
But like, how long does it usually take you to come up with this, like either individually or as a whole soundtrack for the entire game?
The way that Read Only Memories was made in particular, it won't be this way with every game that I work on, was very piece by piece, like set by set, even level by level. So I was sometimes making songs for things that I haven't even seen yet and working a little faster than the rest of the team. And sometimes I was behind. But I would say on average, the entire process of making a song is probably like 8 to 10 hours, sometimes more and sometimes less.
And you kind of work with the team to kind of get the mood or the atmosphere of what they kind of want for each level or each song.
Yeah, if I flub up really bad the first time after they give me some keywords, I usually get some YouTube links. Like here's this to listen to, and from there I just keep molding it until there's something where we're like, okay, we're out of time. This will do, or this isn't exactly what I wanted, but it seems like the direction you're going in, or we get like the perfect thing and I hit on it at the last minute. And every once in a while I do knock it out of the park randomly with the first try, and that feels really good to know that I can do that.
Nice. Not like us.
Hey, this is still our first take. We're good.
It's true.
We haven't had to do a complete retake in a week.
Shh, let's not talk about episode 45.
It's not very much time.
Listen,
Still better than the episode we don't talk about, period.
Listen, last
we did
week's
not
episode.
retake that one, but
I named last week's episode "Mental Breakdown" for a reason. So who inspired you to make remixing and composing your life's work?
Oh, yes, it's probably Kira Yamaoka with the Silent Hill soundtracks, because that was a dude that went in and really, really, really made his music and sound gel together and gel with the game by actually having the game play back his sound in like dynamic ways. The Katamari Damacy soundtrack, Jet Set Radio soundtrack. I'm wearing a Jet Set Radio shirt right now.
Dude, Jet Set Radio soundtrack is so good.
It is really good. And besides that, I would say definitely the Capcom sound team from like the early mid 90s that did like Third Strike, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom 2. I like a lot of that stuff.
It's great. You're killing it on the game composers. I can't disagree with you. Well, listen,
and of course Yasunori Mitsuda, Chrono Trigger. I got to represent that.
Oh, of course, of course. Hey, if you've never given Tekken 3's soundtrack a listen to, there's some jazz, like they did this jazz funk pop thing. It's so good on that soundtrack.
I was living with someone that I was making music with in college, and he told me to sample Tekken 3 and 4. I don't remember, I don't know if I actually sampled for his album that he was making. So somewhere there's some guy rapping over a Tekken beat that I made.
I need to go. I'm gonna go like deep interwebs and find that.
Just be careful.
Right. So I know you did mention some composers, but is there a specific composer that is your all-time top? Like when people say, "Hey, I want to get into listening to game soundtracks," who would be the first person off the top of your
head? Probably number one, Yasunori Mitsuda, because I think he's a crowd pleaser. I think that there's no way you can't fall in love with video game music and want to hear more after you hear Chrono Trigger, after you hear like one of the Xenosaga on PS2. That's a really good one. I think that listening to, honestly, Katamari Damacy is a really fun and like quirky soundtrack that contains so many musical styles, and it kind of gives you a peek into how fun game soundtracks can be if you have someone fun working on them. How freeing it can be to have like a quirky game needs quirky music,
and I will real quick, I'm going to speak on like the Final Fantasy 14 side of it. Like, and I know you haven't played other than like 1.0 for that 1 hour as we discussed in the pre-show.
Yep.
There is a lot of that. I think Soken, who is the game composer for Final Fantasy 14, you could tell he takes a lot of those. Like they give him a lot of freedom with what he wants to do. Like that you can tell that he goes. Not that they don't have input and tell him the same things. I believe that your the team would tell you like, hey, maybe this doesn't feel like right. But you could tell like with certain boss battles, like with the last boss of Alexander, like the second phase, like the midway point, all of a sudden it becomes a rap. So
nice.
Yeah, so like it's that weird thing, or like with Shiva where it's this melodic piano, and all of a sudden during the second phase it becomes a punk song. So he with lyrics and like it's something like so different for me as a Final Fantasy fan to get somebody like that who's taking that time and dedication into music, and make me fall in love with an MMO soundtrack like I do with all the Final Fantasy 14 stuff. So I completely agree with him that if you're not a lover of game soundtracks and you've not watched me stream, most of the time I'm playing chiptune, I'm playing old game soundtracks, I'm doing remixes soundtracks, I'm playing mellow stuff. So know that gaming music is a big to me. So.
Yeah, honestly, if I was working on an MMO, the way that those games constantly have a need for new content, I think I would just start trying really, really crazy stuff too.
It's a good way to put some of this.
Yeah.
Some crazy some music out there for 14.
Yeah. Listen, I told you I'll link you a bunch of tracks. So and this is from Valdemir in chat. How do you select the songs used in your remixes / mashup?
Yeah. BPM rates and lyrical speed compatibility, yes. Midichlorians, no. Or maybe if that's what you want to call the feeling when you know a mashup is good. And it wasn't this organized when I first started doing these. I just with Chrono Trigger, it was like a hack job compared to what I do now. I listened to all the songs from a game soundtrack, and then I listened to all the songs of the artist that I've chosen to remix. And I basically do like a connecting the lines between them. Like, okay, this song can work with all these 3 songs. This one can only work with this one, but this one also really works with that one. And it's like a process of elimination until I just figure out which ones are the best possible match. And, it's possible that I've fallen in love with one match and overlooked another. So there are, potential like really good Team Mellow songs that never happened because I didn't pursue every single option. But it's pretty organized, and I feel like it gets things done pretty quickly.
So do you... Sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
Do you find then that you kind of have an idea for what you want to do? Like, it not specifically, like, you don't necessarily hear a song and go, "Oh, I really want to mix that," or you just kind of get more of, "I want this composer or this style or this feel."
Sometimes I do the like, oh, this would be great with some Outcast or whatever, or the other way around, listening to Outcast and saying this would be great with this game. Um, and it does. There's with the BPM thing, that is beats per minute. It's the tempo marker, and uh, anything. My brain has become better at judging BPMs just by listening than it was before because of these mashups. And I think about like a wiggle room between like, okay, this rap is nowhere near as fast as this game song, but it might work because of the rhythm. And sometimes I get the rap song in Ableton, my program, and I get the video game song in there. I'm like, how did this work in my head? It doesn't work at all in real life. That can happen sometimes, even this far in.
What do you do at that point? Like, do you kind of massage the music a little bit to get it to work, or do you?
Sometimes you can, and sometimes it feels like a loss of time at a certain point. Like, oh, I could just work and find another one that works naturally, and that'll be the actual fit. And that's what I usually do most of the time.
So my question is, will we ever get a Too Mellow B sides, like the stuff that never made it to the actual album that you're like, man, that would have also been a good song, and then you just do like a B sides of all the stuff you didn't do.
There's not that for mashups. Usually I scrape the plate pretty clean when I'm releasing mashups, or I take all of the ones that didn't work and I've already released them as like bonus tracks. Um, but with composition music, there is tons of stuff that I have not released.
Ooh, the Mellow Archive.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, every musician, you see that people have like 4 or 5 albums, but behind those, very polished 100 to 120 tracks, there are thousands that they didn't release. And it's kind of amazing to think about your favorite musicians and everything you haven't heard.
Okay, so with the mashups and everything, I want to know, like recently on your YouTube channel you released a Persona 5 slash Mob Deep and dude, that, listen, I've put that up everywhere. I'm like, tell me you can't shake your butt to this because it's so good. Like, were you just like BPM in and out, or was it like you were like, were you just deep into were you deep into Mob Deep and you're like, man, this would go good with that Persona 5 song?
Yeah, I actually had been remixing that song with some Near Automata, which is the next thing I'm going to work on after Streets of Rage, which is what I'm on right now. Um, and so I had experience with that Mob Deep song, Quiet Storm, and wanted to do something for Persona 5 because everyone's talking about it, and Life Will Change is a really good song. So I threw that on it because that was a faster rap song. Those are kind of rare. And yeah, it worked. People are saying like it's one of my favorite things or their favorite things that I've ever done. And it's not even really polished. It was kind of a rush job for a show that was coming up, and just to post on the internet and get those sweet likes. And but people are really really emotionally attached to that one, and I am too. Rest in peace, Prodigy. By the way,
Yeah,
passed away recently.
that's sad. Man, let's see. We got another question from chat. What artist's music do you find it the easiest to remix? I'm Vladimir in chat is convinced that it's either Jay-Z or Eminem.
The easiest. I think that working with, and there's not a lot of songs, but I think Raekwon or Nas really just fits into it. Their voices are so good that you can just put it on top of just about anything and it sounds good. It just flows right in. There's not a lot of work you have to do to their voices. I could tell you the hardest, which is Ghostface Killer, because he raps in a way that is very particular to the beat he's on, which is usually a RZA beat, which is like really shuffly and non-traditional. So he can be troublesome. And there's in rap music, there's this term "in the pocket," which basically means like in every measure, you're your lyrics are cleanly matched to the rhythm of the measure, and they end at the end of the measure. So you're like cleanly delivering line after line after line. You're in the pocket. You hit the beats at the right time. Ghostface is as far out of the pocket as anyone could ever be, just like just sloppy stanzas, and it's his style, and like no one else has that style except for Action Bronson, I guess. And um, it's really special, but it's also it's horrible to work with.
Yeah, if you've never listened to the Mystery Chess Boxing and listen to the Jockey Stone side, like as soon as Ghostface comes in, you'll get it real quick of how Ghostface raps real quick.
And on 36 Chambers, I forget which song this was. I think whatever. He says one of his lines is "Not long is how long that this rhyme took me." Apparently he used to write stuff right before he went in the studio in those days. And both he and Method Man were actually exiled from the group for a little while because they weren't good enough, and they had to work really hard and come back.
I can see that. I can see that. But Ghostface is so unique, though. I don't know how you could have ever like. I could see how you could have kicked him out initially, but like.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it's the Wu-Tang. Like, there's 9 legendary people. What's losing one legendary person?
Well, yeah, I don't know. All right. What's your general process when composing a new piece?
So usually I will start with a chord progression or drums, either one of those. It's really easy to start with chords because once you have chords, you have pretty much the whole song figured out. You just have to work backwards from there. With drums is a little less typical, but I just love drums so much. I think that drums and piano are probably my favorite instruments to compose with. So it's either going to be chords or drums. Drums define the rhythm and the feel of the song. Chords define like the technical boundaries.
Okay. Now I like you guys can't see it because I have the way I have everything cropped, but I know I do see that you play guitar and everything. So is it now as an art, like as a musician, because I do play guitar myself, like do you find as much as you love hip hop, when you play guitar, are you playing riffs that like, do you also like what other genres of music would you like mess around with, or is it only like the hip hop?
I really like jazz and soul. So yeah, typically I'm trying to play instruments in the most soulful and interpretive type of way.
All right. Just checking.
Oh, I saw and also actually, I am one of the types of people that plays a lot of instruments a little bit rather than playing like one instrument a lot. So a lot of it is just messing around, and my understanding of piano translates to everything, fortunately.
Okay.
So what else sorts of instruments do you play?
Got a trumpet right here. I got piano. I have those guitars. I have a flute and a clarinet.
I don't know, but I think you and I just became best friends.
So I play a few things, but I have a bad habit of buying a bunch of instruments and not playing them as much as I should.
Yeah. Shin, do you what about you? You play sax?
I actually did play sax, alto
did
sax
you?
in high school. Yeah.
Holy shit, we got a ska band.
I'm sorry though. Like I grew up learning the piano. I played piano for like 10 some odd years, and then I switched over into percussion. Not so much the drums, but the rest of the percussion section.
Yeah, I have a lot of percussion instruments too. Those are very cheap sometimes, and you just go to
sometimes,
and you're just like, let me get 3 new percussion instruments.
I'm not saying we just all meet up someplace and just start a funk ska band, right? And we'll bring ska back. It's gonna be great, guys.
Oh, so I do see. I don't know if this is probably your next question.
Probably.
The bullet underneath the last question.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if I was passing over it or not because it's a good one. I didn't want to.
No, it's yeah. Does it differ depending on type of work, or is it contract versus for?
So in 2013, when I started working on ROM and people started wanting to pay me for the first time, it was really weird. And there was a ton of pressure when I was making something for any type of money versus for fun. And I think this is something any artist goes through when their work suddenly becomes like commoditized and you have to make up a per hour rate. Is that you just wonder, like, is this really, this is just what I was making for free like a month ago? Is it really good enough to suddenly start charging people? And yes, of course it is, you idiot, but you don't believe anyone when they tell you that. So it takes a while. Um, and so I would have just these, I would get the sweats, just like, "Oh, I can't sell this. This isn't worth it. These people are like putting all the confidence in me that is in the world. I don't know what to do." But at some point, you start you start treating it as music again. You get over it, and for fun versus contract, out of the two, I would say that actually for fun is the one that suffers more. The contract stuff just gets stronger and stronger because you have kind of a bond with the people you're working with, whereas the stuff you do for fun, sometimes it's hard um, to make concepts on your own and think of like what your own style is after you've been doing all this other work elsewhere. Like when I come back to the core, too mellow, what is it now?
Yeah, real deep.
I know,
Yeah.
like with other artists, especially like visual people who draw and make stuff. A lot of times on the internet, people want their work for free. Do you get a lot of requests from people like saying, "Hey, you make stuff, make this for me for free," because you have nothing else to do, right?
Yeah, it's a huge problem on the internet because of like the way that things are shared online. Someone or many someones can mistake like the posting of some quick fan art or like a remix that I do as being like, oh, this person loves putting stuff out for free. And yeah, I've gotten hit up about that a number of times, like, hey, can the amount of that I love your music get me a free remix? Or can you work on this project for like revenue share, which is not the worst thing. At least they're promising something, or like some future payment that might exist, or just helping me out. And for exposure is the classic one. And yes, it actually does happen. It's not just a meme. People really do it. I could and have had big conversations on this. Just check my Twitter feed. But it's there is no for exposure. There is no currency in that really. And what I recommend to young artists is, if you don't feel like you can get hired yet, if you don't feel like you have that portfolio, just do stuff for yourself and build up your own portfolio out of your own works. They don't have to be for anything to be impressive, and don't let anyone have any of your like soul's work for free. There's no point in it.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. I would give people the same advice because I'm still shocked that people sub to us here. So,
I was gonna say we're technically giving away this content for free all the time, so
technically, but not technically anymore. people expect something now, and we got to
what
deliver.
that is, I don't know.
Yes, y'all are kind of on the hump, getting over right now, huh?
It's something. It's
We're
weird.
on something.
Yeah, it's weird looking at the fact, like, I didn't think when we got the sub button, because it was just, all right, cool, we got affiliate, and it was like, all right, we'll get bits, maybe, like somebody will just be generous, like Chili, who was just like, here's $1, and that's cool, like, all right, hey, we made $1, that's something, like, that's more than what we had before. Not, by the way, Chili, thank you for that $1. I'm not disparaging your $1 by any means, but when the week end of us getting that sub, and then next thing I know, we had 8 people subbed instantly over that weekend. I was like, oh, well, that's unexpected.
Yeah, you never know who's out there who would want to give you money if there was an option.
Yeah, but it's pretty shocking. Like, we don't even have a Patreon yet. Like, I don't feel like it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't feel like we are at that place where we can make that ask for that sort of like, hey, help us, support us. Where this, I'm like, all right, well, cool. Like, I can stream and I'm giving you something in return for your patronage. Thank you, by the way, all of you. And I know some of you are in chat. Thank you, by the way. So let's get it. And I know a lot of us we're Final Fantasy podcast. Don't worry, we got these questions coming up too. You use a lot of Final Fantasy music in your remixes. Is there any reason for that?
Yeah, like half the games are fucking Final Fantasy games. There's like 30 of them.
It's true.
So it's most of the music made for video games is for Final Fantasy games. So it's just either that or I use, like, I don't know, Alfred Chicken or Toe Jam and Earl. Like, what else is there?
Toe Jam and Earl had a funky soundtrack.
Yeah, actually, I should use Toe Jam and Earl.
Toe Jam had a really funky sound.
But yeah, actually, the reason is that I think the standard of quality across the Final Fantasy series has always been very high. I think that, let's see, I have not played anything before Final Fantasy IV, and I've not played anything after 13 yet. But like within that range, at least, I can say there's some very strong stuff.
Okay. You're not wrong. Like I said, you're getting links later. So what are your thoughts on Nobuo Uematsu, the godfather of Final Fantasy music?
So I haven't actually researched him as much as I have some composers, and I don't know, because I know there are some, you can't assume that every Final Fantasy song is by him. There have been a lot of collaborations, but I think that he is the reason that video game music in general has such strong melodies, because you listen to like his soundtrack for Final Fantasy on NES and how he creatively used the extremely limited palette to make this really strong soundtrack and to work with the limitations of video games and saying like, okay, well, we can't have like orchestra chordal stuff, so I'm going to instead make this very strong lead melody, and have this little arpeggio playing in the background as a chord, but it's mainly going to be this lead melody. And I think that we can credit him and Koji Kondo as well with giving us that kind of catchy melodic style that characterizes the best video game music still to this day. Yeah, hot tip, I don't really like stuff that gets too orchestral and like cinematic for video games. I love it for movies, but yeah, I think that when I'm playing a video game, I want the soundtrack to be whistly. I want to be able to whistle that shit.
I'm telling you, man, like you so much shit. And you're not wrong. Like Matoya's Cave is probably one of my favorite tracks off the early Final Fantasy games, and I know like they like a lot of thing that Soken does is that he takes a lot of the older tracks and reuses them in 14, because 14 is kind of I don't know, I don't want to say hub world
Greatest hits.
It kind of like a lot of it, if like for example like the current raid is Omega and they use Final Fantasy V, the interdimensional rift, so a lot of the bosses came from 5, and so a lot of the raid bosses are like X Death and Real Volt, and like a bunch of those bosses are in there, and a lot of that music is too. It's just up
it's
on
a lot of like a
screen.
reimagining of the music
And the worlds and the bosses and the characters, like a lot of it is in there, but it's also like it's weird. I'm telling you, you'll love it. I'm just kidding. You may hate me after. It's fine. So speaking of Final Fantasy, what's your favorite Final Fantasy?
6. I don't have to take any time to answer that question. It's 6.
It's fantastic. 6 is so good.
Oh, and I've been playing 12, and that's pretty damn good to me anyway. I don't know. I know there's some dissent about 12, but I've been playing the remaster, and I've been enjoying it very much.
I am a not liker of 13 too much. I like 12 more than I like 13. And I think that since I know that 12 has a fast track option where you can kind of like speed through, like, and that to me, I'd be down. Like so I love that when they remake these Final Fantasy games, they're like, here, you can speed up and like zoom through like things. I was like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great way to get you to play it again.
Yeah, it's smooth. Shin's way too busy. He can't. He wants to play more Final Fantasy games, but he has no time.
I've played and beaten the first one.
Just that.
That's it. We just the dead stop. I play 14. I'm working on 15.
You're getting the cliff notes of the 14 technically. Listen, if if 6 shows up in Omega, and it'll be fine. Kefka will be there. It'll be crazy.
There needs to be a real way to play 6 and not that bullshit RPG Maker 6, but like the real 6.
The real
play
6?
it in a way that people are going to be okay with, because I feel like it's hard to recommend that game these days. And I played it. I played it when I was a kid, and I play it every year, so I'm super biased. And people are like, my friends are telling me like, I don't know, I didn't know I was supposed to go to this mountain and meet the karate master. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course, that's what you do. It's just what you do. But then I look at the game and I'm like, oh no, there's like barely anything telling you to do that. And that's like in the first 3 hours. Okay.
6 is perfect. 6 is such a great game. Listen, I'll spoil 6. I don't give 2 shits. I'll spoil. Shin probably doesn't want me to spoil 6, but I'll spoil.
I don't think you should. I think that it does something that's very unique in video games that I still haven't seen. I haven't played every game, but the turn in the middle of 6 is still unlike anything I've seen in a game.
Maybe we'll have to set up a stream for it one day. Let's do a full playthrough.
Has the 1 year anniversary passed yet? Or has the anniversary for 6? I'll look up when that game was released, and maybe on the anniversary of 6 we'll play through 6. But we may only have
more than 1 year.
Well, not the 1 year, but whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Listen, man.
It'll probably be about 3 more years in October, I think, is when that was released. That it'll come up on its 30th. But I released my album on its 25th.
So, all right. I don't know if you want to wait 3 years. We can play it on
we might be able to schedule it for 3 years, and then we'll have time for it.
Yeah, then we'll have time.
One of the best things about being streamers, especially streamers with subscribers, is that you can use that time to play the games you never got a chance to, and you can justify it.
Yeah, guys, if you want to see that happen, sub to us, and we'll find time.
Oh yeah, you should ask them first. I forgot to mention that part.
Yeah,
do a poll and make all the options 6.
Yeah. Actually, we can make that happen. So
subs.
This is or gain a lot more. Let's find out. A lot of games mentioned have been JRPG style. What are your thoughts on non-JRPG game music?
Mega Man's pretty good. I'm no aficionado of the Mega Man games. I was doing a stream thing where I was playing a bunch of those for the first time. I beat 1 and 2. I couldn't make it through 3, but that music is really good. I love the Metroid leitmotifs, which if people don't know that term, it basically means like the theme melodies that carry throughout a series. I already said Silent Hill. Love those. Non-JRPGs. Yeah. Ninja Gaiden is really good music. I'm just riffing off the dome here. I like a couple fighting game soundtracks very much. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Street Fighter Third Strike, both very good.
Wow, Third Strike, nice.
Yeah, Third Strike is my main fighting game, and I'm real bad, but I put in the work because I just want to I want to see that art, and I want to listen to that music, and if I have to be good at this extremely hard fighting game to do it, I'm going to do that.
You, me, maybe the only 2 people in the world. You and me.
No, we're not alone. Believe me.
Is there like a weird deep Third Strike Underground that I don't know?
Oh yeah, most people consider it still the best fighting game.
Oh man. Oh, it's all right.
It's either that or Samurai Showdown 2 or Garo, I think, are like the
Samurai Showdown 2 is pretty.
Yeah,
it is.
Pretty good.
I just got like Tekken 7, and I'm like, and they put Akuma in there, and he's really good. And I was like, I had to go to like arcade mode to find Harong, and then I was like, ooh, that's my guy. And it was like riding a bicycle. I was like, I don't know if I should go online, because I felt really good because I was just beating dudes. I was like, if I go online, I may get real sad real quick.
Yeah, never go online. I just mean that in general. Yeah.
Hear that, guy? Or well, see everybody. That's it. Never go online. Well, no, come online because you have to watch us and we have to interview Mello. Stay online, only for us though, and maybe Final Fantasy 14 because without that we're nothing. So all right, so Mega Man. So have you thought about like the DuckTales like platformer from the early like 90s and like what about like that sort of like music where like a lot of it is like iconic. Have you ever thought about like looking at that, like making like an EP sort of like off stuff that you don't normally like listen to? And like I wonder if I like as a I don't want to say, I know like you like between like we talked about the fun and things, but like you ever as a challenge to yourself, like take tracks you're not used to.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first kind of had a bunch of people coming to me for the video game remixes, the first thing I asked, oh, Castlevania. Fuck, I forgot that one. Castlevania is so good. But I guess I remixed that, so I like that. Um, the first thing I asked people was like, hey, just throw recommendations at me. And I got like 80 different games. And so basically I was checking these games out, and it's interesting when you go music first into a game because you have no idea about what actually playing it's going to be like. You just know that it has this really good song that you want to get to. And it is really interesting, the thought of finding a way to round up a bunch of these games that don't really fit into my normal mold that I couldn't really make a whole album out of. But I got to tell you, I think I did do like a FM Genesis remix of what the Moon song from DuckTale would sound like if it was coming out of an FM sound chip. I did that after I worked on ROM because I knew the technical specifications. But I think I would do that song. I would do Super Mario Land, that one song.
All right,
That is a dope ass song. I would probably do some Yoshi's Island stuff.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Especially on the DuckTales. If you've not listened, listen. Oh wait, all right. Here, listen. This question's not even on there. All right. So speaking of, since indie gaming has become such a huge hit, especially with like the rise of like especially on PC and now moving over to the consoles, as everybody's embracing these indie titles, something like Shovel Knight, where the music was super great. Like, do you ever think of like, man, I wonder, even though that's such an indie title, would you ever like look at something like Shovel Knight and remix it and see what you could do there?
I haven't pursued it yet, but I do like end up kind of knowing a fair amount of composers from orbiting the same sphere, and it would be cool to like maybe get like source files for someone's tracks and remix it from a more technical perspective, in a way that everyone is aware of what's happening. It would be interesting to do like something that's more of a collaboration with another artist on their own soundtrack. I haven't really pursued that yet. I don't know. Mm, That's I don't know which indie soundtrack I would go after.
I don't listen. I don't know what train I need to be on to help that make that happen, but let me know. I will start a Twitter campaign. Just let me know what artist and what game, and I will find the composer and we'll make that happen.
One of my favorite game soundtracks, indie game soundtracks that probably wouldn't work for what I do, but is just really beautiful, is the soundtrack for To the Moon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that is some great piano work.
Listen, guys, we're gonna make that happen. We'll talk after show, and then if you see me just blasting for people, it's not because I'm harassing them. It's because we want to make this happen.
All right.
All right. So, what are some of your favorite? I'm gonna put this in two parts. What were some of your favorite games to play growing up? Let's say growing up first.
Yeah, growing up, so my first console was a Super Nintendo. I was definitely of the age where I could have gotten an NES, but I think the financial opportunity didn't come around for my family until a family friend was selling their Super Nintendo with Mario World and Pilot Wings for really cheap. And I also got a bunch of EGM issues, and I used those to find other games that I would like. But when I was growing up, I played Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Final Fantasy VI. I played a lot of like other knockoff character platformers that were trying to be Mario, as every kid did, thinking like, oh, Radical Rex looks cool. It's a dinosaur with a skateboard. This game's probably not horrible. And there's that legendary Lion King game for Super Nintendo.
You mean
It's
the
actually
game
like
that
one of the hardest soul-crushing games that has ever been made, but you wouldn't know because it's just like a licensed property.
Listen, I knew what Rage was at age 7 or 8, whenever the hell that game, 10 maybe? I don't know. Stage 2 was impossible.
Yeah, I never made it past stage 2. Actually, no, I made it to the running
the gazelles.
Yeah, the mode 7 running with the gazelles like once.
Yeah.
It's that and Super Star Wars that was super hard.
Super Star Wars was super hard. Super hard war.
I love that. I see a lot of Let's Players revisit that game and kind of get thrown off by how brutal it is.
He hates me because I said Super Hard Wars.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Listen, you gotta learn to be like me and just keep talking.
Yeah. See, he gets it. Just roll past me. Chat'll hate it too. Don't worry. Maybe not. One person in there is like, Hard War. It's probably Kane. It's anybody. It's probably Kane. All right.
Quiet.
Chili has been real quiet. I'm a little worried. Chili, you live over there, buddy?
You'll be farming.
Okay, true. So growing up, but now currently, like you said, 12 has been like probably. I know I saw it on Twitter. I think you said what top 5 Final Fantasy is where you're placing 12, right?
I'm putting it up there. I have very hard Final Fantasy opinions. That is probably not the podcast.
Oh no, this is the podcast. This is the exact. Yes.
All right. Do you want to hear my top 5?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Here goes. So number 1 is 6. Number 2, 9 is holding pretty strong.
Okay.
Number 3 is 4.
Okay.
Number 4 is 10.
All right.
And number 5 is 12. That's my top 5.
Wow, like 7 didn't make the top 5 at all. Interesting.
No, I have a personal grudge against 7 because I discovered 6 around the time it came out, and everyone at school was talking about like how cool Final Fantasy 7 on the PS1 was, and I was like, "Yo, 6 though, and everyone was like, "What system is that even on?" I don't know.
6 though.
Can you imagine being like a person who had just discovered 6 and you think it's the most amazing thing, surrounded by people who just discovered 7 and think it's the most amazing thing? That's when the series really broke out.
It was the first 3D of all of the Final Fantasy game, and reason being, like, that was a system seller for Sony. So, yeah. My top 5 is a 6. So me and you have the same number 1. So 6 for both of us, because 6 is a beautiful piece of artwork. It is artwork to me. It's like, I know how some people are like, video games aren't artwork. 6 is artwork. If you ever want to look,
yeah, you fight a painting in that game.
Yes, you do. You do fight artwork. To me. Yeah, 1 is 6. 7 is next, just because I was going through a rough time. I had a death of the friend, and 7. A lot of if you've never played 7, 7 is the way 7 works is that it kind of teaches you about coping with death and acceptance. And 7 works that way. So I made that, like, it's such a weird thing, but 7 taught me about acceptance and accepting death and life and yourself as a like, it's such a weird thing to think about with a video game, but it's what it is with 7. 4. So far it's 6, 7, 4, right? 10 is number. I don't necessarily like the tightest laugh and some of the aspects, but 10 was the first one. 10 is just special.
So weird because it's just undeniably there's such, you say that, oh, I hate Blitzball, oh, I hate Titus's voice acting, but like 10 is fucking good though.
There's something so special about 10. And then last but not least, for me, right now is 14 is number 5. And I know a lot of people in chat maybe think you're a freaking crazy person, but the story in Stormblood was really good. So barring that, 5 right now. That could change as the patches come out. 8 may slip right back up in there.
I feel like out of 7, 8, and 9, I feel like I could only put 1 on my list because that's like an era, and I feel like
It is.
9 is the one that holds up the best right now.
9 was a callback to form for them. Like, it was really like, and plus everybody loves VV. GG. VV made an appearance in our game. That's so. 7 is underrated in present day. Come at me.
7 is the least underrated.
7 is underrated present day.
7 is the least underrated. I'm not going to say that 6 is the most underrated. It's absolutely not. I probably agree with Vladimir, who mentions 5. Like,
5
right?
is
No
good.
one talks about 5.
Yeah, 5. 5. Did 5 introduce the? It started. I think 5 started introducing the Magitech, right? If I remember correctly, 5 is where they started introducing like that steampunk stuff. Like, it could be wrong. Listen, it's been a long time. It's all blending up. But I want to say 5. Oh no, I'm right, because Omega with the interdimensional rift, it was 5 where they started. I am right. I'm not crazy. Yeah, you're right. It also introduces the job system, which we now use throughout the series. Let's keep going, shall we? All right. So for anybody that's out there that are listeners or viewers right now that are want to be, future composers or even just starting, or even just want to just be remix artists, like what are some any advice you can give?
Yeah, listen to as much music as possible. Use the internet as a teaching resource. Don't think that you have to go to school for it. You can go to school for something else that could be your backup job, and you can compose. You can learn to compose on the side. Do work for yourself, like I kind of mentioned before. Boost up your own portfolio before you start like helping other people boost theirs. Get to know people in the industry at any chance you possibly get. It's the worst thing to hear and the most hated thing to hear when you don't know anybody, but connections are important. And not for like gross reasons of getting promoted and not deserving to. Connections are important because when people get to know you, they get to understand like how you will perform in certain roles. And so the reason that you might get hired because you're a friend of someone is not necessarily just because you have like this weird friend status. It's because they actually understand you as a person. So don't see connections as being something like gross that you don't want to get into. And even if you're kind of shy and you don't think that marketing yourself or meeting people that way would come as easily to you as others, everyone in the industry is kind of weird. but the one thing I can say is that I would always want to help somebody if I could, which this is what I'm talking about right now.
Nice. Hey, listen. Well, I mean, like, don't look at me. I just produce podcasts. So, but it's something. Listen, he's not wrong. Like, if you think I'm not using this to try to get into community relations at a video games company, I am. Because guess what? Social media, this stuff it's kind of what I'm good at. Shin.
Yeah, I have a friend who I met on an internet forum when we were like in our late teens, early 20s, and we both told each other like we're gonna meet again in the game industry, and we did, and we're both working on a fighting game. He's the community manager. I do the music and sound, of course, and like more than ever, it's an open field. It's hungry for people to come and not just work under somebody, but make a new thing. Stop thinking about games in terms of like this is going to be a platformer, or this is going to be a fighter, or this is going to be an RPG. The tools are more open than ever. The connections are more open than ever. So I do urge people to get into the games industry.
Hey, listen, I'm 32 and I just made that. Like, I told like Twitter, like, it was like 3 weeks ago that I'm making the career jump over to. I know it's gonna be like a long, arduous process because I have no college in it, but it doesn't mean that I don't have. It's all about passion, right? I think you would agree. It's about the passion you put into.
Yeah, I have an English degree. I never studied music professionally. I just worked at it so hard. And there's a lot of people like to make the argument about talent versus hard work. Like, can someone with talent not do hard work, or can someone with hard work ever reach the level of someone with talent without having it? And absolutely they can. I think that the work is the main thing. If you have a spark of talent but you don't use it, or you just coast on it, you're wasting that. The real thing is always the work and the hustle, and hustle, loyalty, respect. You know, no, no John Cena fans out there.
listen. No. It's fine. No. Listen,
because I'm not even really.
Listen, I got that reference. Maybe 2 people in chat got that reference.
All right.
Shin did not.
So, yeah, I guess it's show and prove in the industry. So if you show that you're willing to do some kind of wild things and not wait for that like opportunity to be handed to you, but start chasing it right now, I think that's the most important thing.
So, by the way, this is he said it. I'm just pointing it out. This is why we did this interview, by the way. Like besides me being like I'm your biggest fan.
Do you have any particular questions beyond that?
I do. Well, I mean, I have other questions, but those are our last 2 questions. But I will say this. Like I did tell my co-host here like last week that I don't want us to rest on our laurels as just solely as a Final Fantasy 14 podcast. I think it would behoove us to reach out and spread our wings a little and talk to, because a lot of the folks here, I think even in chat, watching, listening later, are always very Final Fantasy 14 focused. But I think it's interesting to sit down with someone like you and chat about game composing, because we're never going to get that chance. And a lot of other podcasts may never get the chance to sit down with Soken and chat with him about how composing is in Final Fantasy 14, because don't laugh at listen.
No, I was just imagining trying to sit down with Soken on a podcast, and I think that would be the most hilarious thing ever.
Well, I can't make it happen. All right, I will try.
I did a podcast with a music magazine in Japan at like 3 a.m. once.
Listen, do you want to be up at 3 a.m.? I think we can get it.
I would do it.
All right, well, I'll see what I can do. He said, Mello said yes. I mean, Soken may say maybe. So let's take it like that. So yeah, man, it's I wanted to bring something that was different for the show, and by the way, you've been a great guest. Like, I think we've been pelting you with questions this whole time.
Thank you.
But I think that it's important for I think a lot of people that play video games to get your, like, especially with this game where the music is such a focal point for a lot of the content, getting the views from someone who creates that music, not necessarily, like I said, for a Final Fantasy game, but even for like 2064 ROM or even just the remixes that you do. Like, you put so much passion and love and hard work in your stuff. Like I said, I've listened to your stuff early to now, and I could tell the difference between your early stuff and then something like 2064, where I listen to 2064. It's chill. I love listening to it. It's relaxed. Like, I'll put it on stream and people are like, what is that? It's good. Go check it out. So with that being said, I mean, like, how is it for you? Like, do you believe that, like speaking on resting on your laurels, like, do you believe that's good to get out there and stretch and try new things and push forward?
Yeah, there's a balance between having a plan and doing this. Like, by all means, don't jump into something just so that you have like a new product coming out. Actually think about like a long-term plan, because I gotta say, like, in 2015 I was probably still thinking like 3 months to 3 months, not even thinking year to year yet. But eventually I started seeing things as like broader long-term projects that would bring people in at a steady rate and make people realize, hey, this is the thing that I'm doing right now. if you're late, I don't need to get you caught up, because clearly when you just look at what I'm doing, okay, I get what this guy's vibe is. So I think having a plan of how you want to present yourself, um, finding other people who maybe even want to help you in your goal, if possible, um, and I guess like forming a mission statement, forming a plan, stuff like that is important when you're going to reach out. Um, Write all the things that you would dream to do down on paper, no matter how ridiculous they are, and really break them down and think about what is needed to get there. And sometimes you might be surprised to find that it doesn't actually seem like that much.
Yeah, Shin and I wrote down our stuff, and Spaceship Mansion was one of them. So
Hey, you can just, who says a spaceship has to leave Earth?
it's true. Everybody's welcome to the Spaceship Mansion once we get. So, Shin's. I don't think Shin's on board with the Spaceship Mansion anymore.
I want to see the Spaceship Mansion.
It's pretty sick, dude. Listen, the podcasting space is glorious. Imagine just a room with actual like radio mics and cameras. Be fantastic. The whole thing is a green room. We'll just be sitting inside the Spaceship Mansion, literally inside the Spaceship Mansion. So speaking of going forward and looking towards the future, what are your future plans or upcoming work? Anything you're going to be able to share with us?
Yeah, while I was on this podcast, I realized that I have 2 albums coming out in 2 weeks, which is not something that usually happens. But I have my midnight broadcast series of like chill instrumental hip hop. The second volume of this got delayed because I decided I wanted to do a physical release of it, and I didn't have funds at the time. But I did a Kickstarter, and that worked out. So Midnight Broadcast Volume 2 will be coming out on August 15th. Volume 1 is already out at my Bandcamp, which is 2mellowmakes.bandcamp.com. And that's been a really fun series to do. Also, since I'm on a video game podcast, I have Streets of Resistance, which is my Streets of Rage mashup with just various artists, coming out on July 31st. And that is an album designed to push people towards using, the anger that is in the air in America right now to push for something positive, and trying to funnel people into this website where they can listen to the music and read about different organizations trying to push for human rights in the United States, and maybe wanting to donate to one of those since my music's free. Didn't have to pay anything for it. So it's all about redirecting your rage. Aside from that, is mostly stuff that is under non-disclosure agreements. You know how that goes.
Gotta love those NDA.
You did mention a game earlier, and the name is escaping me.
Cerebral?
Oh, so I'm doing constant work on Cerebral, and that is a 2-on-2 fighting game, tag team. I don't know if anyone in your audience is into fighting games, but we have prototype builds going out every 2 weeks, and it is spelled just like it sounds. It is cerebral, but a brawl, and it is a really quirky fighting game. We're doing direction under Elliot Min, who used to work at Harmonix and 38 Studios, and he has some really great stories about 38 Studios and Kingdoms of Amalur. And
bro, can I get in on those stories? I need that in my life. Wait,
maybe I'll
I'll talk to you after the show. I got a lot of questions. I got a lot of personal questions that we shouldn't talk about on the
So I am constantly working on Cerebral. We're aiming towards getting a publisher right now. We're preparing like a really good vertical slice and trying to get funds, because it's amazing how when a game gets money, everything just starts going like 7 times as fast, because you're able to like hire people and some really, really insane ideas like hiring. And besides that, I actually do realize that I can talk about that I'm going to be remixing some Nier Automata. I don't know if we have any Yoko Taro fans within your community, but Nier,
I'm
Nier
sure
Automata, the Drakengard series, all have really, really amazing music. But I'll be taking some stuff from the 2 Nier games and remixing that with various artists. Also going to try to work with some of the voice talent on that game, which is something that I haven't done before, but I think that I want to try to commission them to do some unique stuff for me.
Nice. I know on Twitter, Cicerin. I don't know how to say his name. Listen, it's a lot of SCs and I's and R's. But he's got a dope bicycle like a little curly Kima. It's great. And listen, Scarlett in chat's gonna be like, bro, his name is this.
Is it Cicerillion?
Yes, Shin, how do you say that?
Oh,
I'm bad.
Cirician.
Thank you. Listen, terrible with names, all right? Look, never forget a face, never forget a video game. I can tell you characters and stories. Show me a Twitter handle and be like, I cannot pronounce that for my life. I cannot. Thanks, Scar. Appreciate it. He's a huge fan of yours and he gives real hype, so I know he's for sure gonna listen to this. He was like, we were talking about you, and he was like, all right, and that's what kind of like edged me on to be like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna get him on the show. Let me see how that goes. So, well, I think you promoted it.
Tweet earlier.
No, I've been setting this all up. The command station was what I was working on. By the way, I run this rodeo. Shin will eventually be my backup for the rodeo. I held up Shin. Shin has all these sweet new computer parts literally on his desk I'm assuming to his left. Over there, he's got a new Ryzen 7, all new motherboard, like all this sweet stuff, and he's like, I kind of want to not do the show so I can build all this, but he's not going to sleep tonight instead. I think he had more fun doing the show personally.
We'll see. I haven't gotten to that part yet.
No, you'll hate it. Something's not going to go right. Well, no, I don't wish that on you. I promise I don't wish that on you.
I built a few things.
So yeah. You want me to link? I'll see what you want to show me. Holy shit, all caps. Okay, I see. It's true. It's the thing. Dude, thank you, Mello. Thank you so much. I don't have any other questions really for you, but thank you so much for coming to do Mellostrom Radio. Yet again, guys, we're normally a Final Fantasy 14 podcast, but we don't want to be your average Final Fantasy 14 podcast. And so, Mello, do you have anything left in your tank that you might want to share with anybody, or where to find you again? Was like 2mello.net. 2mellomakes.bandcamp.com.
We lost the audio here.
Did we lose audio? Or did he push?
I'm sorry. I'm not doing the push to talk thing. So yeah, you were very on brand.
I try.
You have been saying all the right links for me, but I also did want to mention that it is spelled numeral 2 Mello without a W. Curse my old self for choosing this. And Mello Makes on Twitter. You can find me there, and pretty much if there's any question that I didn't answer on the show or something you want to ask me, I try to answer and like literally every tweet that comes my way. I've done a pretty good job so far.
It's pretty great. Shin, you got anything left?
I got nothing else to add to this. I put the links into chat, and then we can add them to show notes and stuff as well after.
Absolutely. So as always, thank you all for joining us for Mellostrom Radio.
This time it was Mellostrom Radio.
Yeah, Mellostrom Radio.
Yeah.
Although that may be the show title now. Thank
you. No problem.
Yep, Mellostrom Radio. Thank you. Shin, I don't know if we need listen. I don't know if we need a fifth Twitter, but we could probably co-own it with Mello. Just be Mellostrom Radio. So guys, as you know, I'll be streaming Mello stuff throughout the week. I mix in some other artists and stuff like that, but I will always support Mello and what he does. And his music is free on Bandcamp, but of course you can go and buy all the soundtracks and help support him and help him put food in the fridge and AC, keep that on. You live in the South, right? Like same as me. I live in Florida. So.
I live on right above the Mason-Dixon. I'm in Kentucky.
Oh, you're right there. So
I'm right there. I can just go down just a few miles and be there. I have to fake.
How I was gonna say. Wait, how long did it take you to unlearn that accent?
No, I never had it. Like I think that thing about being raised by like movies and music is true. I don't know.
You're not wrong.
I never had to struggle with it.
Half my family's from New York, and every once in a while I'll hop out with a coffee, like the awe in the coffee. But I try not to. I try to break it away.
Sometimes if I start a sentence with "well," it'll be like, "Whoa, it just got really southern here."
Shin's from Canada. He can't help.
I don't think I brought out A on the podcast yet, so
I have not heard it. You do say Zed when you say Z.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
but it is Zed, right?
We have a lot more U's.
I think Zed is the right way.
He knows what he's talking about.
You're not wrong. Zed sounds cooler.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute these guys and play our outro and talk for like 30 seconds.
Promotion.
So they can hear it. You guys can't hear them. I'm sure they'll just wave goodbye. But thank you so much for joining us for Mellostrom Radio. I appreciate every single one of you that came out live to join us and listen. Mello is showing off the Final Fantasy. Is that the 6th soundtrack? That's fantastic. I want to thank you all for joining us. You can find us at www.maelstromradio.com. You can find us at show@maelstromradio.com. You can find us on Discord. You can find us on Twitter at maelstrom_radio. You can find us on Facebook at maelstromradio.com. You can find us here at twitch.tv/maelstromradio.com. I want to thank Shin. I want to thank Too Mellow. I want to thank everybody that came out to hang out with us. Till sea swallows all. Keep listening.
Maelstrom Radio is a production of maelstromradio.com, Blackfire Media Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Opening theme provided by Benjamin Anthony James. You can find more of their music over at soundcloud.com/Ben773. Our outro is provided by Sodo. You can find more of their music over at soundcloud.com/Sodo. Views and opinions expressed on this episode are those of Maelstrom Radio and their hosts, and do not reflect the views and opinions of Square Enix. And until sea swallows all, keep listening.